Namaste, mate.
Namaste. Namaste, everybody. Welcome along. We've decided on calling this little segment "Wisdom from the Couch," and today we thought we'd talk about where happiness is really to be found, and if it is to be found in a sort of an individualistic sort of endeavour to satisfy my desires. And so Nityananda, my name is, this is Nityananda Das, and my name is Jayadharma Das, and this is a sort of an unscripted sort of presentation, pretty casual, but I did prepare something, and I'm sort of going to try and play the devil's advocate, if you know what that means. Right? And Nityananda, he's going to be the wiser guy, but we'll see how it goes. But we have this quote from Lord Buddha, and Nityananda might read it out.
Thanks, mate. Okay, so it's a very nice quote to get us started here, as Jayadharma said from Lord Buddha. So it states, "The more we care for the happiness of others, the greater is our own sense of well-being. Cultivating a close, warm-hearted feelings for others automatically puts the mind at ease. It helps remove whatever fears or insecurities we may have, and gives us the strength to cope with any obstacles we encounter." That's a pretty nice way to start off.
It's pretty nice, but let's say I don't buy into it. I do happen to buy into it, by the way, but I thought we might just sort of break it down a little bit, because the first part of that says, "The more we care for the happiness of others, the greater is our own sense of well-being." That's the first sentence. You know, Nityananda, I'm quite a bit older than Nityananda, as you can see, and I was brought up in the late 50s and the early 60s, which was sort of the time of the hippies. And the hippie philosophy was, do whatever feels good. Whatever comes to your mind, just do it. If it feels good, if it brings pleasure to the senses, just do it, right? What happened is those guys who are about 10 years older than me now, or then, of course, many of them, they went to university, they got families and things like that. They sort of fell away from, the very overt form of hippieism, if you want to call it something, and many of them went to university and became quite influential sort of academics and wrote books. And I remember my mother, she used to have one of these books, and it was called, what was it called? There was two books that were quite influential written at the time. One was called, I can't remember either of them, right? But the one my mother had was Looking After Number One. And she schooled me in that by her own example. And, and also she actually, mentioned it often. You have to look after number one. So what is the problem with that? It's obviously directly in opposition to what Lord Buddha has said.
Yep. Well, the problem is that we've all tried it. We've all done it.
We are doing it, many of us, as we speak.
Yeah, and we're all doing it, and the more that we try and do it, the more we delve into doing it even more. So, we've tried it all in our own individual way. Like for you, I've got your own individual likes and pursuits. You've done it like that. I've got my own individual likes and pursuits because I'm an individual. And, I can look back on my life of, being younger, I tried the party scene. Burnt out on that when I was about 20. And tried the sporting scene, gave that everything. And hard work as it is, just didn't fulfill me. And when you talked about the hippieism thing, and I sort of missed that era, but it's really no different today either, is it?
It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same.
It's just a different spin, isn't it?
Yeah.
Different set of glitter and lights on a different or a same package,
It's different packaging, but it's the same message. I'm the most important person in the universe.
Yeah.
Everything revolves around me.
Yeah.
And I know I'm supposed to be playing this devil's advocate, but I can't do it with a great deal of conviction. I've been told, and I've actually read some of the work, that there are a lot of scientists, right, not spiritualists, they're not yoga practitioners, they're not, advocates of any particular religious path or anything like that. They're scientists. They're usually they're sort of behavioral scientists, sociologists, psychiatrists, psychologists, etc., etc. And many of them have been doing a lot of work in the past 5 years into, happiness.
Yep.
And some of the things that they've come up with are, it is actually essential. We don't just recommend it, but it's actually essential for a person to turn from their own sort of self-centered individualism and turn their cheek and, focus their efforts on other people.
Yeah.
In particular, helping other people, you
Yeah.
know. And they say it's absolutely essential. And whether they know it or not, that's sort of course, it reflects. It reflects all the traditional sort of yoga values as well. So it's not a new idea.
Yep.
Right? It's not a new idea. And but unfortunately, that message, it is getting out there, but it is completely overshadowed with all the conditioning that we were receiving from the media and through social media, which is saying, and the message is pretty clear, and it sort of seems appealing, just like the message my mother gave me: look after yourself, just go for what you want. You know what I mean? Get what you want.
Fulfill those dreams.
Fulfill those dreams. Get all that stuff. And I've found, like you found, even if you're really good at that stuff, and most people aren't, they don't even get anywhere near those dreams. But I was lucky enough to get much of what I sort of dreamt of as a young guy. And I found it was just a complete lie. It's a complete lie.
Yeah.
It really is. It's an empty lie. It's a dead end. You get to it, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
How did I go? I know how I got here, but now what?
Yeah. I remember hearing a quote from a book that said, "There's two disappointments in life: not getting what you want and getting it."
Yeah, right.
It's perfect for the materialism, isn't it? You aim so high, and people work so hard for things. I mean, you hear people studying such long hours to get a job, then get a job, and the job's just a total stress out. They want to get out of that. And I mean, we both lived overseas and lived in different cultures. You meet these young guys, particularly in maybe Asian countries. The pressure's so high, to become a lawyer, and have the face of the family, held up. And then they become the lawyer, and then it's just don't want to do it. It's just too tough. It's too hard, and
too unfulfilling.
Yeah, it just
absolutely unfulfilling.
Yeah, it doesn't hit the heart, does it?
Yeah, yeah. So, what do you do?
Well, I guess having a look at that nice quote there. I mean, the first thing was that all the fears and insecurities that come with just looking after yourself.
Why is that?
Well,
why do you get fear and insecurity when you're just leading a sort of a self-centered sort of life?
Because you sort of know within it's just. Well, for me, I used to always get this sense it's just a deja vu feeling, like
been here before.
Yeah, here we go again. It's the same sort of emptiness at the end of it, I might go to on a holiday, or something takes your focus away from it for a while, like maybe you go on a holiday and you're somewhere new and new surroundings or a new thing that you're into. Then after a while it just gets that same feeling again. And from a yoga perspective and even from other different perspectives, it just doesn't satisfy you because it's not meant to. It's not meant to fill you up.
It's the wrong energy.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. It's the wrong energy.
I mean, the other point there is there's nothing wrong with looking for it. Like, some people may say, well, you just don't look for it, you've got to be here and now, but part of who we are is we will always look for it. You can't take that away from it.
It's part of our nature, isn't it? To want happiness, to want satisfaction,
yeah. You can't,
all of those things.
You can't remove it from your being, right? And you don't have to. It's not as though this path tells you to do that, you know.
This path meaning the path of yoga and path of yoga wisdom.
Yeah, it explains that those things will always be there, you know, like the search will always be there, and that's part of the, you know, the journey of life, you know. But the problem is that we look for it in all of that external stuff, you know.
What about, naturally enough, you know, this search for satisfaction also encompasses the search for love.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, that translates in this world into sort of, you know, the opposite sex or the same sex, and, you know, and we're all familiar with it. We don't really need to go into any of the details, but there is a lot of stress and insecurity in there. You know what I mean? How do I look? You know, do I come across the right way? Do I sound dumb? Do I sound sophisticated? What do I do? You know what I mean? I look at it and I think, whoa, this is...
It's hard yards, isn't it?
Hard yards. And talking about, I've been here before, you know, it's been a long time since I sort of had you know, I've been married for most of my life, but, you know, I remember thinking, you know, the second girlfriend I had, I thought, wow, this feels exactly like the first one. It's just slightly different, circumstances.
Different subtleties there.
Yeah, different person, but, you know, all the same sort of principles at play here, you know. What about this search for love and satisfaction?
Well, it's the same again. It's going to be there, and you can't.
We're hardwired for it.
Yeah. You can't nullify that. It's going to be there again. It's just, I mean, it's the same as what we looked at. It's where we look. You know, where we look. We're looking all the external stuff in the glitter, and love is the same thing. You know, our you know, the way that we project ourselves onto others. It's pretty much based on a lie, isn't it? And a false.
Yeah, totally.
You know, put on that super cool look, or the
super cool clothes, hides all the sins,
or the sophisticated look, or whatever look you're
whatever
into,
it is,
that you're trying to attract, or the cool look, or the, you know, the earthy dude look. You know, they're all different.
They're all just sort of. You're like an actor on stage, really, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know. It's phony.
Yeah, and that's why, I mean, modern day statistics are that, you know, it's record numbers of breakups, divorces. Yeah, and it's all based on the body, you know. When we lose our attraction for another person's body, you know, we look elsewhere, we go elsewhere.
Kind of like a bumblebee going from one honey pot to the next.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not satisfied with that anymore, or that the presentation of that, or, you know, the outward externals of that. I'm going to go elsewhere and you know, find something that's more appealing to what I believe is going to make me happy. Or I've tried that one, or I've tried that person. I'll find someone else. It's just like cars, isn't it? You know, or a setting of a house. You know, I'm going to repaint it.
Oh yeah, and this is what wealthy people especially do, don't they? Because they have the facility to sort of explore all the possibilities, and they do.
Yep.
And you get some wealthy guy who's a professional, I don't know, whatever, some celebrity, whether a sporting or acting celebrity, and they have 20 cars and 20 partners and 20 houses and all the rest of it, and, you know, 20 million problems more than you and I have together.
Yeah. So yeah, look, what we're looking at there is, you know, it's all whatever we looked at just here previously. It's all coming this way, isn't it? It's all about satisfying what I perceive as being acceptable or happy or nice, or was going to satisfy me. And we've all done that. We're all doing it, and the fruit of it is it's making us more and more unhappy, you know. And
it is making us more and more unhappy. So I guess, you know, this is a yoga channel, so, you know, if we wanted to drill down into this subject matter a little further, you would have to ask, who is the us, who is the me that is looking for all of this experience, right, all this satisfaction. And I'm presuming that the yoga system has a pretty comprehensive, it does, I know, I'm just acting as the interviewer here for the time being. We haven't really played this out, but that's just the sort of role I'm taking. So, but this is important, isn't it? This is the foundation of the problem and the foundation of the solution.
Yeah. So as Jaidan was saying, you know, from the yoga perspective, how we identify ourselves is everything.
Totally.
I mean, it's the foundation. If you look at a building or something, the foundation of, you know, of everything is how you perceive yourself. So the yoga perspective is that the body is just a carriage, just a vehicle, you know, and there's also a subtle body, which is the mind. And a lot of people may understand that they're not the body, but they tend to identify with their mind really strongly, you know.
Their desires, their feelings.
Yeah, all that stuff that's in there, because it's just such a tight covering, you know.
They're very close to you.
Yeah, and it's so hard to sort of
step back from it.
Yeah, disengage from it, because you know, our modern day lifestyle, we're just feeding that guy, you know, feeding the mind and feeding the desires, and it seems like, I mean, from 20, 30 years ago, that we're just barraged with so much more these days.
Up the ante.
Oh,
Turn the volume up severely.
Crank it, man.
Get totally cranked up.
Yeah. So we're getting more and more, you know, encapsulated by the urges in our mind, you know, and it's causing people stress.
So there is a person that possesses the mind and the body, right? And is it this person that actually, this is where all these desires for satisfaction come from?
Well, the person within the body is known as the Atma, or the self, and by misidentifying the self as the body, you know, we think, well, material things are going to satisfy the body, so that's how I can get happiness. But the actual self, the person within the body, being of a different energy, like you said, being of a spiritual nature, is not engaging in anything spiritually nourishing.
Right, so they're starving and it is sort of manifesting as, you know, material sort of desire.
Yep. Yeah, so I mean, the whole basis of the yoga process from that identification is then where you then look. Sort of,
to satisfy those desires.
Yeah, to satisfy. So we naturally have a desire, like I said, desire to love and the desire for happiness, and they're coming from the self. They're not coming from the body
or the mind
or anything externally. That's just coming intrinsically from that person, the self. And so that identification then sets you on a different angle or a different path to then look for that happiness and look for that satisfaction.
Right.
And that's
the gateway, the entrance way into the yoga path. But let's say some of our our audience here, they kind of think, okay, it's okay, I don't mind that, but do I really have to get into that to experience at least a little bit more happiness than I am now? And there are people who they want to get behind a cause, or they want to volunteer. They want maybe volunteer at an old age home, or is that going to help them?
It'll give them some satisfaction, of course. It's helping others is also part of the yoga path as well. There is
the karma yoga path.
Getting away from just thinking about myself, or getting us more out of that ingrained thinking of it's just all about me. So it's nice to help people, it's nice to give, even if it's just something simple, and it gets us out of our own mind and our thoughts and our desires, and then it starts to actually broaden our horizons. So one of the things that's important about yoga and meditation is that it starts to lift the veil, on our materialistic perspective of ourselves. There's a bigger picture.
Misidentification.
Yeah, and there's a bigger picture of all this, And I know when like maybe you go through a tough day, or you're going through a bit of a patch where you're down and out, you're just so stuck on yourself, and then
in your own headspace, sort of thing.
Yeah, and then you might do something for someone else, and it's like it breaks that cycle, And that's what the yoga process is about, moving out of that self-centeredness into a different consciousness. They describe it as, different consciousness.
So the service sort of consciousness, if we can use that phrase, right? Is that innate to the self, to the soul, to the Atma? These are all synonymous terms, I presume.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like we've just talked about, we've got our essence, that we're not the body, we're of a spiritual essence, non-material essence. There's our position, we are very minute, we're very dominated. and there's our function. You know, we're always going to be serving. And even if you have a child, I mean, you've got a dog, you've got to serve your body.
Got to serve the boss.
The boss.
The boss has got to serve the government, pay the taxes, do all the GST.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Then you have, you know, you're going to be serving all the time anyway.
Even the people who are sort of like, they fight against that. I'm not going to serve that.
Yeah.
Those people. They end up serving somebody, don't they?
The rebel types.
The rebel types, yeah.
Vigilante, yeah.
Yeah, they end up serving somebody.
Well, but generally, we serve a lot of our desires anyway. We're just serving the desires.
Serving our mind.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as that thing comes up, you're serving that, right? You know,
this is all pointing to that service, that service essence. It's part of our essence, really.
You can't get away from it.
You can't get away from it. And so when you actually engage in some service, whether it is, like you said, something quite simple, right, just like serving another person or a family member.
Yep.
I you know, like you, I lived in Asia, and when I went to Asia, I actually married a woman, an Asian woman, right? And I had the pleasure of living in their family and to see the family dynamics working. And it was quite different to my own family. In my own family, we were basically 4 individuals living together. And whereas they lived together like a unit and they helped each other, and I thought, this works, this is good. And I thought, well, that's something. And then I met some people who were politically active, and they were sort of like nationalists, you know, they were behind their nation, and so and each of these represented a stepping stone, you know, and something greater than themselves.
Yeah, like a higher cause.
A higher cause. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like when the higher cause is just me.
Yeah, I'm the centre and just me.
I'm the higher cause.
Yeah, you know, I know some guys, and
that's trouble, isn't it?
That's trouble. You know, you just live for yourself. It is just, it is a dead end.
Yeah. I mean,
it's really a dead end.
Even if you do meet someone who's extremely individual and doing that, you just get that sense that there's something totally missing in them as well. You know, you might meet someone who's extremely individual and they maybe live by themselves, or they've, you know, but you can still see that the spark's not there, is there? Because it's
even the successful sort of individuals, you know, the self-focused, you know, the real disciples of the authors of that book that my mother bought, you know, Look After Number One. The other one was Winning by Intimidation. I remembered it, you know.
Glad I wasn't born then.
Yeah, the guys have sort of, in inverted commas, realised the end goal of those books. They can be very successful, right? Yeah. But they tend to be very lonely.
Yeah.
Very lonely.
Yeah. And probably not very giving.
Why would you? Yeah. Unless it was a business arrangement. I'll give you something if you give me something back. That's, you know.
Conditional, right?
Yeah, it's all very conditional and stuff like that, you know. Yeah. So a person who perhaps, you know, finds the whole spiritual thing, I'm not quite ready for that.
Yep.
You know, they can actually take this serving tendency and sort of direct it in a fashion, you know, and actually experience some life from it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, in the yoga perspective, it talks about, you know, material nature being sort of like in 3 different qualities. Like, and probably the high point of those 3 is like a person who's more in the mode of goodness. They're like, you know, nature and helping people and more calm. So the yoga system is about promoting a person more to that level. Yes. And so when they're more clear and calmer, they're more aware and more sensitive to others.
Yes.
And less likely to be like, oh.
Yes, and so if I remember in this quote, Lord Buddha said that, excuse me just for a second while I bring it up again, can't remember it. Cultivating a close, warm-hearted feeling for others automatically puts the mind at ease. It helps remove whatever fears or insecurities we may have. Cultivating a close, warm-hearted feeling for others automatically puts the mind at ease. That's pretty profound, as you would expect from Lord Buddha. But I mean, you know, it's also for, you know, for a kind of a materially focused society like we live in here in Australia and in the West, it's sort of a bit counterintuitive. Can we just talk about this a little bit? How does looking after people, how does serving other people kind of bring peacefulness to the mind?
Well, there's a couple of things that point.
Tricky question.
Yeah, it's quite layered there.
Yeah.
Well, it does get you, as we mentioned, away from that self perspective. It's about me, but also, you know, the nature of caring for others helps to elevate our consciousness. You know, it elevates us to a more to the spiritual platform. And a person like maybe you met someone who's, and we have, people are very advanced spiritually. They're so concerned about others, you know, their happiness comes from seeing others progress and seeing others becoming more elevated or more mature. And they see that as the most important thing in their life, you know. In their lives. Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
Is it that because they are acting on their kind of their true nature, their true spiritual nature,
absolutely,
right, and helping other people, is it the case that in acting like that you're sort of more in harmony with the universe and you know what I mean? Without being too cosmic here, you know, you're in harmony with your true nature.
Yeah, I think,
and that brings a certain peacefulness.
Well, they're just on a higher level of that, you know.
Yes.
So it's like, you know, we're always reaching a higher level with this, and the more higher advanced someone is from the yoga spiritual perspective is that they're just not caught up in their own trip anymore. It's about serving that higher purpose, that higher source, and within that is caring for others as well. They can see the true nature. They see the true nature of other beings too.
They look after their material and their mental, their psychological well-being, but also they recognize that you don't just have this physical and mental body, but there is you, the living being within, and so they try and address that as well. Is that the case?
Absolutely. They like you said, they understand that, yeah, that person needs to be materially, you know, have their needs met,
and
that's important. That's important.
Not necessarily all their desires.
It's a different world, that one.
That's a different word too, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, the basics. You know, we generally, you know, part of the yoga philosophy is living a more simple life because we're more satisfied. We don't need all the clutter. You know.
It's actually real, isn't it? It's not as though you're just pretending to be some elevated sort of serene individual. It just comes. Yeah.
Yep. You're getting more. You've stripped away all that. You know that. And so a person who's more giving feels it's very natural. I guess you could say.
The giving.
Yeah, it's just natural. You know, you want to. Well, we both know this, that, you know, if you want to advance on a more spiritual level, you retain what you have by giving it away.
Completely opposite to the material principles.
Yep.
Yeah. Completely opposite.
So, and that sits great with all of us because it's just so natural to do it. You know, you're not going against the grain with that.
Yeah.
You're not having to fight anything with that. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why, and that's why it says it gives you that light, warm feeling or warm-hearted feeling?
Warm-hearted feeling.
That's it.
Yeah. It's nicer to give than receive.
Yeah, and you're going to get, naturally things are going to come back to you anyway because that's the nature of it, that's how it works.
Oh, the karmic reaction thing.
Well, just in general, if you are, people are going to be out looking for you too, right? So
looking out for you, yes, indeed. But that's not the reason you're doing it.
No.
That's not your motivating principle. No. It's kind of like you've got a full cup, I don't need any more, man.
Yeah.
And the guy over there is starving, here, have something.
Yeah. Well, you also sort of touched on a more higher purpose and things that I think without getting too in depth, it's a more pleasing attitude to have. You know, it's more pleasing to be like that.
More pleasing for who?
Well, to link up to the Supreme. Yeah, it's in that regard. It's
right.
He's pleased when he sees us behaving like that and acting like that, and it tunes us more into his nature as well.
Yes, because I guess really we all have a source.
Yep.
And that source is that higher truth, regardless of how you relate to that higher truth.
Yep.
And we're all springing from that higher truth in many ways.
Yeah.
So in many ways as well, we're kind of all interconnected,
Yep.
kind of like brothers and sisters. And, you know, just like in a regular family, if, you know, they're all working together, like I said, you know, like the family units in Asia that well, the family unit in Asia that I lived in, it just all worked very nicely. It was cohesive, it was harmonious, it was nice.
Yep.
You know, some guys, you know, got no money, everybody else is supporting him financially, and the parents were happy, and there was just a sort of, you know, regardless of what was going out on in society, and it was a real dog-eat-dog sort of world over there, they had their sense of security, and it was all within the family. So you're saying if you expand that, you know, concept, and there is a recognition of a higher authority and a recognition of this interconnectedness that is actually a fact, and we act on that by helping other people, then we experience this warmth and this glowing kind of inner glow that Lord Buddha is talking about.
Yeah, it's a deeper internal satisfaction, you know. I mean, we're talking about it obviously, but when a person experiences it, it's deep, isn't it? You know, it's not a superficial thing. It's just it's a feeling that you get, and it's something that continues to be cultivated and expands, and it's quite wonderful, isn't it?
Quite wonderful.
And we talked about that's how we really can connect with people, and that's actually the goal of the yoga process as well. You know, we might start our yoga process because we're stressed or for different motivations. We all have those, but once we become a little bit more understanding and our perspective changes, there's a shift, right?
Totally. I remember for a long time I was into yoga and meditation and stuff for exactly what you were talking about. You know, I wanted to feel less stress. I wanted to feel, I just less stress. That'll be enough, please. Thank you. That'll be nice. A feeling of protectedness, whatever it is. I didn't even think like that. I just was talking about me, feeling me. Yeah. And then, you know, slowly I got stronger and more confident. And then I made a decision. And I remember, after I made this decision to actually do something and commit, right, actually take on some responsibility to actually kind of help other people. It was a small thing, but immediately I could feel it. Yeah. It was like, you know, you didn't have to philosophize about it. Yeah. It wasn't conceptual, you know, it was like eating. You know, you took a spoonful and yes, you weren't full, but you knew there was something more coming and you knew where to get it. Yeah. Yeah, just similar to me, like I got involved in a program that was being run and someone said, would you like to help out in this particular way? And I thought, yeah, why not? Yeah. Just get involved and and that in itself was very satisfying. Very satisfying. Yeah, and wasn't like a big project or anything like that. It was just like, we're doing this, can you help out with that? We're just giving some manpower. It's great. So really it boils down to the individual's abilities. We're not asking anything. We're not saying that you have to go out there and be an amazing individual like Mother Teresa or anything like that. It can be just something simple. Yeah, and it's something simple, and have a bit of a even if you don't have a particular pathway, like yoga practitioners usually have a yoga pathway that has been formulated through many hundreds, maybe thousands, many hundreds of thousands of years. But just if you're just an individual out there in society, you could make a little plan. Today I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that tomorrow, just to make a difference to somebody else. Yeah. Just looking out for others. Looking out for others. It's good stuff. It is good stuff. Yeah. And it makes you feel pretty good, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, how many times, I don't know, Nityananda, he's not really into social media, and I'm not either, but I do watch a little bit more Facebook stuff than him. And the number of posts I've seen of guys just doing some random acts of kindness, I know it sounds quite cliched these days, but it just watching it, it brings a warm fuzzy feeling, and they usually have millions of hits. That's right, yeah. Because everybody else is thinking, oh, ooh, nice, warm fuzzy. Well, I think that's kind of like is that all we want to say today? Or do you want to say anything more?
I think it's pretty good.
You can get pretty deep with this stuff if you get into, because this is really sort of like leading us down the path of karma yoga and that. But today I thought it would be, you know, just sort of like this. We're just feeling it out, guys. We're really not sure where we're going, but we're both pretty interested in this subject, and we've experienced it quite a bit. And so we thought we'd just sort of share it a little bit because we know that it's really helpful. And if you're just a guy out there, you know, and you don't know anything about yoga, you don't have to know anything about it.
They might not even think this is about yoga.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what's
what do
good
you mean
about
this is
it,
about yoga? Yeah, this is actually about yoga because the word yoga really means relationship. Relationship between you and, you know, the source of all relationships, the source of all energy, and relationships between you and all the other individuals. It's like the transcendentalist, the great transcendentalist Lord Jesus Christ said, you know, develop your relationship with the Supreme. And his second, you know, command was, you know, and similar to it, is to develop your relationship with other people. And even though he is not in our yogic, you know, lineage, we respect his words greatly. So, unless you've got anything else to say,
I'm pretty happy with that.
You're pretty happy with that?
Got some good topic matter out there.
Yeah.
Some good ideas that we can, you know, build on in future talks.
Yeah. If you have any questions, by the way, feel free to, you know, question away. We'll definitely, we'd love to get back to you. Other than that, thank you very much. Namaste, guys.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you.